All right, well, welcome to our week 3 virtual lecture for Psychology of Play. My name is Stephanie Fetrin. I see I have some of my students here today. There also might be a couple instructors joining us at some point to observe. So welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. We're going to be talking today from 2 to 4 p.m. about different topics from week 3 that might already be familiar to you if you've looked at the readings for this week. We are going to be talking about all kinds of fun stuff. I'll get back to that in a second. This is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be talking about motivation, gamification, all about play in the workplace, and give you some examples of companies that are doing this. We're going to then jump into talking about conflict because that's going to be something that's going to happen in any type of situation, and we're going to talk about why that's important. We're going to do a fun little activity, and then we're going to finish up with a conflict management quiz that you guys will get to take all together here. So we have some fun stuff to do today. I won't be able to cover everything that's in the readings from this week, so make sure you're still doing the reading so you know what we're going over for the brain teaser activity due on Sunday, as well as your discussion board where you're going to need to talk about concepts from the week. So back to me really quick. My students in my class call me Mrs. F because it's easier than typing out my name all the time. I'm a licensed mental health counselor. I also have a master's degree in mental health counseling, but I've been teaching here at Full Sail for the last 5 years on campus and online. And as you can see, I like to travel. That's in the first picture. And then you're probably wondering what the last picture is. That's actually a picture from Full Sail here. We did a cardboard challenge day where we got together with a bunch of people and we got into teams and we had to make something from our childhood out of recyclable materials. So we just took a break from our day and did something fun and creative together in the workplace. And that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about today, is the value of play in society and how it's not just important for children, which we learned about in week 1 and into adulthood, but it's also valuable in the workplace and other areas of our society that we might not typically think of. So, as we're going through our materials and talking today, please feel free to comment in the chat box. Sometimes when there gets to be more than 20 or so people in here, it can run really quickly if you guys are answering. I will try to read what you're writing in the chat box as much as I can. I might miss you, and I apologize for that. If I do, please know it's not because I'm ignoring your comment, but it's because I might have missed it when it's scrolling really quickly. Also, if you want to talk on the microphone or share your thoughts, please feel free to raise your hand. We want this to feel like an environment where it's just like when you're on campus and you can share, raise your hand, ask a question, and have some comments. So hopefully we'll have a lot of fun today. We're going to be watching a couple of videos as well. So if you are on your phone or using the app on your phone, sometimes that causes a little bit of problems, but hopefully that won't be an issue today. If it is, just know that I post all the videos that we watch during the lecture with the link of the recording if you happen to miss anything. That way you can also review it again later if you'd like. All right. So like I said, this is what we're going to be talking about today. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started. We're going to start off talking about motivation. And if you've done the reading, you've heard about this guy, Daniel Pink. He is an American author, and he's written a lot of books about business, work, and management, but he does have a little twist on it, and he likes to do a lot of experiments when it comes to psychology and human behavior. And in this book that he has called A Whole New Mind, he talks about that we're living in a time when traits like imagination, creativity, those are actually becoming more valuable in the business fields. And he calls this the conceptual age. So just like machines have kind of replaced our bodies in doing certain types of jobs, right? Things are more automated now. And then we have software, which is kind of replacing our left brains by doing logical sequential work, right? So we don't really need to do that any longer. We have software to do it for us. And we also are no longer in the information age, right? We have all the information we could possibly want at our fingertips. You can look up anything, you can ask Alexa anything, and she can give you the answer, right? So what is our value in the workplace now? Well, he's saying that it's more of a right brain type activities. So this includes art, our artistic side. This includes emotional intelligence, things like empathy, inventiveness, big picture thinking, creativity. These are skills that are becoming more important in the business world. And so today we're going to be talking about how play ties into that, because we learned in week 1 how play is going to encourage those parts of your brain. It's going to help you be more creative. It's going to help you be more innovative. And that's why it's so important, especially in the business field. So he also talks about how we're not as predictable as you might think. Like, what motivates people? What makes them work hard? What makes them work smarter? It's not as typical as what he thinks. So we might say, okay, well, you know what? Let me ask you guys a question. I have a poll here. Hold on one second. Okay, so you should see a poll on your screen. It says, do you think monetary rewards make people work harder? So you can go ahead and vote yes or no on that poll. Just your first thought, yes or no. I'll give you guys a second. Wesley says the reading says otherwise. Oops, someone did the reading. Not everyone yet. It's only Tuesday, so we know everyone works at different paces. All right, 68% of you have voted. If you haven't voted, go ahead and vote now. We're at 75%. Okay, 80%. I'm going to close the poll. Let's see. Okay, 60% of you believe that monetary rewards make you work harder. 40% of you say no. Well, remember, here on the slide it says Dan Pink has done some studies to show that we're not as predictable. So we might think that money is a huge motivator in working harder, but a lot of studies are now showing that that is not necessarily true. So let's talk about this. There's two different types of motivation, right? Intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. Who knows the difference before I tell you? What's the difference between intrinsic motivation and extrinsic? Samuel says in the chat box, although the reading says otherwise, I still feel money is a good motivator. And we'll talk about that in 1 second. Okay, Dustin says internal and external. Okay, so what do you mean by internal? What would be an internal motivator, Dustin? And what would be an external motivator? Maybe you could give us an example. Wesley says extrinsic would be a reward like money. Exactly. That's a great example. And what about intrinsic? Wesley gives an example more like self-fulfillment. Yes, great example. Dustin says it comes from within, wanting to accomplish a goal, emotional awards. I'm reading what you guys are writing. Eric says intrinsic is sense of achievement or curiosity. Yeah, you guys are right on track. So intrinsic motivation is doing an activity for its inherent satisfaction or enjoyment rather than for some external consequence. So we're doing it because we feel motivated to do it internally. It comes from within us, right? And then that external motivation is more of doing something for a separable outcome or reward, right? So money, fame, wealth, those are extrinsic type motivations. Or even in if you think of it in terms of being a student, grades, right? That would be an external motivator, right? So I want you guys to think about one thing that motivates you, okay? And I know sometimes it's hard to type as fast as I'm talking, but if you guys want to type one thing that motivates you in the chat box and then right next to it, identify if it's intrinsic or extrinsic. So what motivates you to be here at Full Sail, to be going into the careers that you guys are looking to get into? What is one thing that motivates you? And then is it intrinsic or extrinsic? Okay. Wesley says success. Okay. Daniel says family, and he considers that intrinsic. Another one for family, intrinsic. Mark says making film, intrinsic. Provide for my family, extrinsic. Okay. Knowledge, Wesley says it, which is intrinsic. Jose says gaming, game design, intrinsic. Desires, intrinsic, says Samuel. Okay. So it's interesting because you just think, okay, well, this is why I want to do this and this, but we don't often attach it to, oh, well, is it intrinsic or is it extrinsic? And I bet that most of you have a combination of both, right? Obviously, we need money, right? And I know a lot of people said family, right? And if you want to be able to take care of your family, you need to be able to support them monetarily, right? So I'm not saying one is better than the other. Both are very important. But what do you think helps motivate people more? Is it the paycheck, or is it doing something you love? Is it doing something that gives you a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning? And what's shown is that if you're in it for more intrinsic reasons, you're going to feel more fulfilled in that job. And I'm guessing that's why a lot of you maybe are in school now and choosing to do something that you feel intrinsically motivated to do, because you know that that's going to last longer than just having a job for a paycheck, right? Mark says, being able to provide for my family while doing what I love. Exactly. Jennifer says, I think intrinsic is best. And a lot of people, they end up working to get the paycheck, those extrinsic motivators, but they might not feel really motivated and really fulfilled in their workplace. And then they strive for something more. Other people don't necessarily even need to have a job. Technically, there's lots of people that stay at home and take care of their children or do different types of things. So it really is a personal thing, and I'm not trying to say one thing is better than the other here, but I'm just trying to get us thinking about what types of motivators are going to help us. Because when you're stuck and you're not feeling motivated, you're going to need to think about, okay, well, what's going to help me? What's going to help get me out of that situation? So this is an experiment I'm going to talk about that was done by psychologist Carl Dunker. But before that, I'm going to read what Jennifer wrote in the chat box because it looks interesting. She says, my fiance just explained it really well. He said he'll do well as a game designer because he's not in it for the money, extrinsic. He's doing it because he wants to make a game he will enjoy playing, intrinsic. Yeah, that's a great example. Very good point. So let's talk more about this. So like I said, the candle problem. If you've done the reading, you've already seen the answer, but if you haven't, maybe you can try to take a guess. So in this experiment, participants were asked to solve a problem. They had to fix the lit candle on a wall in a way so that the candle wax won't drip onto the table below. And all they have are the materials that you see here. Okay? Just for fun, to see who maybe hasn't done the reading yet and knows the answer or wants to take a guess. Samuel says, I know the answer. LOL. Maybe he's already heard of this or done the reading so far. But does anyone know the answer? Okay, someone didn't just tell us. How do you solve this problem? You guys are on top of things. Everyone's already here, done the readings. You're ready to go. You guys are prepared. You could teach this class. Okay, Wesley says they used the matchbox. Okay, not the matchbox. What's my pay? LOL. Hey, Samuel, we gotta have intrinsic motivators here. The tack box, says Mark. Okay. Wesley said, I meant the box in the candles. The box in the candles box? Okay. Sometimes it helps if you guys want to raise your hand, because I know you're typing fast and it doesn't have spell check. So if you want to raise your hand, it might be easier to explain over the microphone. If not, I will just tell you the answer. Okay, here we go. Eric says, put the candle in the tack box. Exactly. Okay, so you dump out the tacks, you put the candle in the box, and then you tack it to the wall, and then you light the candle, right? Seems pretty simple, right? Eventually, we're all probably going to figure this out. Now, there was more to this experiment than just putting people in a room and giving them this little problem to do. There were two groups. There was the low drive group and there was a high drive group. So they brought in people, and the low drive group, they said, you guys, here's a problem for you to solve. Let's see what happens. Pretty what we just did, right? On the other hand, the high drive group said, hey guys, whoever gets this done the fastest, you're going to be getting a prize, a cash prize for your work. Okay? Now, what do you think happened? Let me put out a poll. Which group do you think solved the problem faster? So go ahead and vote. Don't give the answer away yet. I know you guys know, a lot of you guys know the answer. Go ahead and vote. Which group? Remember, high drive is the one that gets the cash prize. Low drive, no prize, just, hey, we're doing an experiment. Solve the problem. All right, 83% of you guys have voted. I'm going to close the poll. Okay. 63% of you must have been doing the reading. Awesome job. That is right. Okay. The low drive group actually solved the problem faster. Why is that? Why is that? They didn't get a prize. They didn't get money. There was no incentive. They were just doing an experiment. Why do you think they got it done faster? And they actually say people who were offered rewards took 3 minutes longer to solve this problem. Eric, ding, ding, ding. He said they had less pressure. Daniel said no stress, no competition or money. They were focused. Wesley says the pressure and time and a reward made them rush and not think. Exactly. Okay, you did it. Mark said they did it simply for the enjoyment of doing it, no stress or pressure. Exactly. So, what does this tell us? It tells us that rewards or money, dangling that carrot in front of us, can sometimes narrow our focus. That's all we're thinking about. Win, win, win. I need this money. What can I buy with that money, right? It's restricting your possibilities in that sense, kind of making you tunnel vision, right? You're only thinking about winning. So, let's say I give you guys a task and I say, the person in this GTT who creates the most innovative t-shirt design for Psychology of Play will receive $1,000. So according to the candle problem, what would be the result of this scenario? $1,000. Is that a motivator? Is that going to help us be really creative? Dustin says no. Mark says nada. Are you guys going to come up with your best ideas? No. Okay, according to the candle problem, maybe it's going to take you longer to think of something creative, or maybe the pressure to get this done in a certain amount of time is going to make you feel stressed, and that's going to shut down those creative parts of your brain, right? And that's not really going to help you. So why is this important? Well, you guys are getting into creative fields, right? You're going to be doing these tasks constantly. And what's going to motivate her? If your boss comes in and just says, hey, I'll give you a bonus if you get this done, or if you come up with the best idea. Well, employees are now looking at this research and saying, okay, employers. So my employees aren't going to really come up with the best ideas if I just offer them a bonus. So what else can I do to help motivate them? And that's what researchers are trying to explain to us. Teacher says it would stress us out, I believe. Exactly. So what does motivate us? If that's not going to help us be more creative, what's going to help us do our best and be the most productive and creative we can be? in the workplace environment. Okay, well, Dan Pink, he talks about 3 elements of motivation. Okay, and this is from his book called Drive. So he says the secret to high performance is the drive to do things for their own sake, because we really only want these 3 things. He says the first thing is autonomy. So you want to be self-directed, right? You want to do things on your own. You don't want to be micromanaged. When you're coming up with your game design, like someone said earlier, you want it to be something that you would like to play, right? You don't want it to be, oh, well, you have to do this and this and this and this and this, and it stifles your creativity, right? You want that autonomy to be self-directed and to do what feels creative and makes sense in your mind, right? That's going to make you motivated. Number 2 is mastery. You want to have the urge to do things and get better at them and be the best at them, because that's fun, right? Doesn't it feel good when you're working on something and you just keep getting better and better and better at it, and you just want to keep doing that? You want to be the best at it. You want to be the best game designer. You want to be the best music producer. You want to be at the top of your field and, do awesome stuff, right? And number 3 is purpose. So you're doing things because you want to get recognition for it. You want to make a name for yourself. You want to make a difference. You want your music to reach people. You want your games to reach people. You want people to be inspired by your work, right? And these things are going to make coming to work more enjoyable. They're going to make you more motivated and productive in the workplace. And companies that are flourishing right now are ones that are letting their employees have these 3 things. And we're going to talk a little bit about these companies in a few minutes. But remind me of that when we talk about Google. Someone remind me in the chat box about these 3 things and how it relates, okay? I'll give you an example in a little bit. So, how do you guys stay motivated, keep those creativity levels up? Yes, it's going to help if you work in a work environment where these things are encouraged, right? Samuel says, remember these 3 things, and trying to create those experiences even if it's not by your employer. So how can you feel more autonomous in your job? How can you feel like you're mastering things? And I'm sure a lot of you do those things outside of your work. Maybe you work on your craft just in your free time. All of those things. Samuel was like, I was just joking with you. It's hard to tell in the chat box, Oh, I like that, Chris. Keep your goals posted around you. I like that. So these are some things you might even want to think about including into your weekly plans that you're doing for this class. Okay, so let's keep going. How do we stay motivated? Well, another way is to keep things fun. This class is all about play, right? Where does play fit in here? Well, fun is the easiest way to change people's behavior for the better. So if you can see in this picture, imagine you're, going in the subway station or wherever. Would you rather take the escalator or would you rather take a piano staircase? I would rather take the piano staircase because it makes it fun, right? So they actually did this experiment. There is a video. We're not going to watch it. You can kind of get the idea from the photo here. But if your steps are making music, it's going to be fun, right? It's going to encourage people to exercise. It's going to encourage people to take the stairs instead of always taking the escalator, right? Making a boring activity fun. Okay, climbing upstairs, not so fun. Piano stairs, fun. Pretty basic. Wesley, don't jump the gun. He's talking about the big clip. Here we go. First, I'll explain this picture. Okay, this is a picture of my daughter. She's 3. She does not like eating her dinner. She only wants pasta and pizza. So I'm trying to get her to eat her vegetables. What do I do? How do I make this fun? So they have this little plate, it's a princess plate, and it's a little path here. And so I put the food in the little path, so it kind of looks like a game. And she has to eat all of the little spaces, and they have like little cute pictures underneath that she can see after she eats each little box. And then when she gets to the end, under the princess castle is a little prize. So she has to eat all her food before she can get to the prize. Okay, pretty simple idea, but brilliant, right? Now she eats all her food because it's making something that she doesn't seem as fun, sitting down, I have to eat my dinner, I have to eat my vegetables, and it's making it into something fun. And fun is a huge, huge motivator for kids. So this is kind of introducing this idea of what motivates us and how play can be incorporated into that. Jennifer says, how come I didn't know about that plate 5 years ago? I know. I'm like, I should have invented this. I'd be a millionaire. No. Okay. So have you guys watched the poopometer video? You're like, what the heck is she talking about? Okay, some of you have watched it. Okay, so in your readings this week under the gamification topic, which is what we're going to be talking about in a minute, there's a poopometer video. If you don't know what it is, I'm not going to ruin the surprise because it's funny. So I figured we talk about poop in the reading, so let's talk about pee in the lecture. You guys can tell that I have 2 toddlers, right? Because I clearly have no qualms about talking about poop and pee. So go to your material section and click on the video called Ice Cream Potty. And when you're finished watching, type done in the chat box. I'll see you back here in a minute, 2 minutes. All right, it looks like most of you guys are finished watching. You might be thinking, ew, but what's grosser? Peeing in the pool, in the community pool. So this is actually a video by Dan Pink. He does a few of these little videos for National Geographic where he studies different things about human behavior. And so he did the poopometer one and then also this experiment. But basically the premise is, if you think about it, how do you motivate people? How do you motivate people to do something that you want to do? Or something that's going to benefit, right? Like not peeing in the pool. But instead, we should be asking, how can I create conditions within which people will motivate themselves? And one surefire way of doing this is making it fun. Okay, it's not about money. Maybe if you gave all those kids $1 or a quarter every time they didn't pee in the pool, right? They might just pretend or might not do it. But making it fun and making this an activity got them really engaged, right? So something to think about. So what is this concept called? Gamification. Have you guys heard of this before this class? This term, gamification? Yes, Wesley says no. Okay. Here and there, okay. Well, basically gamification, the definition is applying elements of games to non-game context. So this could be in different environments like workplace, marketing, campaigns. It could be an educational system, personal challenges. So it's all over the place right now. You probably don't even realize that it's being used in many, 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 many areas of your life. Okay. So basically the end goal is to get your audience engaged and turn something that's boring or work into something fun. Eric says, encourage engagement with a product or service. Yes, exactly. So I think for me, one of the earliest things I can remember examples of gamification is, I don't know if I'm dating myself here, but it was they still have this, the Monopoly game at McDonald's. Do they still have this? I don't really eat fast food anymore. But I remember when I was like probably 10 or 11, 12, and I didn't really eat that much McDonald's back then, but when they had that Monopoly game where they had the game board and you got the little sticker on the front of the French fries or your soda or your Big Mac container, and you would have to peel it off and collect them and try to win prizes. I have never eaten so much McDonald's in my life because I love board games growing up, and then this was making like going to McDonald's even more fun. That was a brilliant marketing strategy, and apparently they still do it, which is awesome. Great marketing strategy used all the time, making things fun. So just one example. But some of these game mechanics that we might see are leaderboards, top 10 lists, badges, competitions, leveling up, points, challenges, virtual currency, progress boards. So can you guys think of any examples? I know, Jennifer, you just said some grocery stores do it too. Yes, I remember we had an Albertsons that did that. You had to collect little stickers, and once you got a certain amount, then you won like a dish set or something. Carmen says, I'm in a 365 writing challenge on Facebook, and they give away badges each month for consistency. Yeah, that's a great example. Deidre says some car dealerships might use that. Jennifer says, one of the TED Talks I watched, a teacher had changed their grading system into a leveling system. Oh my gosh, I really like that idea. Yeah, it's used a lot of times in education, right? How are you going to make learning math fun? Games, right? All of these things are going to help encourage kids to learn skills such as math, reading, writing. I use it to learn a language. I have Duolingo and a couple other language learning apps on my phone where it's basically you get different levels, you get points, there's challenges, you have a score, there's a leaderboard. It's making learning a language more fun, right? So that's another example. Reginald says, remember number munchers. I don't know, but that sounds like something that would probably make math fun, right? So it's used a lot in education. It's used for fitness. I don't know, like right now I'm literally wearing my Fitbit. Let's see how many steps I have. 5,900. So I try to get 10,000 steps a day. And I have the app, so I have challenges like workplace challenge, like so it's 5 days, and I compete with the other psychology of play instructors here. We go on walks a couple times a day. We try to get our steps, and we compete. And you get badges if you get a certain amount of steps or you reach a different goal. So it's making, keeping in shape and keeping moving fun. So it really is great for fitness if that's something that is a struggle. Like, I don't know, it is for me, but that's another example. Here's an example from a store. Okay, it says cashier is going to remove a hanger in 5.2 seconds. Can you do it faster? Right? How do you get people to put the hangers back? Because the employees hate doing that, right? Make it a game, make it fun. Definitely a way to motivate people, right? Another one here, I have examples from back when I was a kid, but when I was learning how to type, I remember we had this really boring, computer lab where we had just had to sit and we had to do the special, you had to put your fingers in the right spot, and if you messed up, it would make you go back, and it was so boring. I don't even know. I think I blocked it out, so I don't even know like what that was called, but it was horrible. So now they have this thing called nitrotype.com. I was looking up, and so you can type the sentence and you practice and you can compete against other people to see how many words per minute you can do. And it's a way to work on your typing and to get faster words per minute. You can race with people from all over the world. If you get certain points, you can upgrade your car, you can get boosters, you can get all these kind of things. So it makes it fun. And this is like, if they had this when I was in school, I would have been like, yeah. Reginald's like, I used NitroType in my class a long time ago. Yeah, I'm sure this has probably been around forever. But I thought it was kind of a cute example. There's a million examples. So you guys got to give me some better ones. Let's take a little video break again. This video has some great examples in it of some apps that are really cool that definitely use gamification. So it's a little bit more relevant than my examples. That's why I put it in here. So if you guys go up to your material section in your control panel, there is a link that's called Gamification. So please watch that. It's about 5 minutes, and then I'll see you back here. So type done in the chat box when you're finished. All right, it looks like you guys are finishing up the video. I hope that gave you some more examples of the different areas that gamification can be used. One that I was just thinking of that I thought was really neat is it's called Pain Squad, and it's used in hospitals for children and adolescents to report their pain levels because they were finding that, just asking the kids, how are you feeling today? Where's your pain located? What level is it at? They weren't getting a lot of compliance. I mean, these kids are sick. They're in the hospital. The last thing that they want to do is talk about what pain they're in, right? So they created this game that they could play, or just like an electronic way of keeping track of the pain that was kind of making it fun, like a crime solving police squad, and they have to fill out a pain report that helps the squad solve a mystery, and so it makes it more engaging. So it's really being used a lot, and it's doing, I feel like, a lot of good for making things that aren't enjoyable a little bit more enjoyable. So definitely something to think about when you're looking at how to stay motivated, how to motivate employees, or be more motivated yourself. So this is kind of boiling down to this idea of mixing work and play. We traditionally think, well, mixing work and play, we're grown-ups. There's no time to play. That's silly. Like, what are you thinking? We need to be responsible. We need to get our tasks done so we can go home. And that's not necessarily true anymore. We're seeing that these two things are being combined, and that it is becoming more important for companies to value play and to have playful things happening in their offices to keep their employees happy, right? So, a fun example. Okay, I just keep dating myself this whole lecture. Man. So have any of you guys seen the movie Big? It's from the 80s. Tom Hanks, the best actor of all time. Okay, thank you. I'm glad some of you know what that is. That makes me feel better. All right, so in the movie Big, the premise is I think he's probably like 11 or 12. This kid, he ends up turning into a 30-year-old adult. And so he has to kind of run away from home, go to the big city and get a job because clearly his family is like, I don't know who this 30-year-old is in my house. So he goes into the city, gets a job at a toy store. And here's a little clip of what happens when he's in one of the boardroom meetings. Go to your material section. It's a quick video called Big Clip. And let me know in the chat box when you guys are finished. All right, it looks like most of you guys are finished. Wesley just said he liked the part when Tom Hanks was on the keyboard in the store. Yes, I remember that part too. And when I started teaching this class, I was having flashbacks of this movie, and I had to go back and watch it again because it really reminded me that of this concept of, as adults, we always think that we have to be so serious. And here are these adults working for a toy company that are being so cut and dry in this meeting. And here comes Tom Hanks, who is literally a 12-year-old in the body of a 30-year-old. And he is coming up with these great ideas and taking this toy company to the next level and moving up the chain, right? So who is more creative in this scenario, right? The people that have that tunnel vision, they're just going to work to have a job, or the people that are allowing themselves to be creative and have fun. And these are the type of workplaces that we're seeing more of now that are really successful. So this was obviously a fictional example from quite a long time ago in the movies, but what are some of the benefits of companies incorporating play into the workplace, whether it's through gamification, whether it's through the workplace environment? Well, it boosts morale. These people are having fun. It raises their productivity. If people are able to take a break, do something fun, it recharges their batteries. They can go back to their work with a clear mind, and they're able to be more productive. They're also able to be more creative, right? They're able to brainstorm. They're able to have fun, come up with new ideas in these environments. It also fosters teamwork. They're able to work together and come up with ideas. Optimizes work quality, reinforces desired behaviors, and promotes engagement. All these things sound pretty good for a company, right? So let's talk about some real life examples. We all know Google, pretty major company. What are some things that they do? Well, they have a Lego PlayStation. They have ladders that connect certain floors. They play scavenger hunt games. They allow their pets to work. You can pretty much design your own workstation. You could write on the walls. They have really zany, wacky work environments that are just fun. Like, you go to work and you are having a good time in that type of environment. I was actually just in San Francisco in the Silicon Valley area staying with my husband's friend, and he used to work at Google. So I was picking his brain and I was like, what was it like when you were there? And he said, they have everything you could possibly imagine. They call it the Google campus because you don't need to leave. Like, you pretty much live there like you're on a college campus. They have a place you can do your laundry. They have every single meal that you could want, any type of food, cafeteria style. It's all included. They have bikes. You go, like when we were driving by the Google campus, we could see people on the Google bikes. They're the Google colors, going to and from. And people are dressed really casual out there. It's just a different environment. People are dressed down. People aren't really showy with their money, because what's valued in those type of work environments is creativity, coming up with a new innovative idea. It's not about who looks the most professional, who has the best car, who's the VIP. Like, you couldn't tell if it was a CEO walking down the street, because they would be just kind of blending in. And that's the kind of environment it is out there. And I know that that's not typical of every environment, but these companies that are up and coming and doing great things and innovative, very creative things are starting to see the value and looking at this research, especially a lot of the stuff that Dan Pink talks about. So that's just one example of Google. For sure, one of the leaders of mixing work and play in that type of environment. Here's another one, Zappos. It started off as a shoe company, but now they sell all types of retail merchandise. They actually have, I think, around 1,400 employees now. But their CEO, he has this big thing about Zappos culture, and he wants to hire people whose personal values match with the company's top 10 core values. And you think, okay, well, what kind of core values does this company have? Well, one of them, literally listed, if you look on their website, says create fun and a little weirdness. That's one. Do more with less. That's another. And deliver wow through service. So these are the types of things that they want their employees to do. And as you can see by this, I don't know, this picture kind of gives me a little bit of anxiety because my desk is a lot cleaner than this. But you clearly can have whatever type of workstation that you like and that motivates you. So they're allowed to kind of decorate things the way they want. They have cookouts. They do a lot of fun things like in activities on a daily basis. And what's interesting about the hiring process as Zappos is that they have two interviews. So the first one is to see if you meet the qualifications and you're a right fit for the job. And then the second is to see if you fit in with the actual culture. So at the end of the training that everyone gets, they offer you, they pay you for the training, but they also say, here's a $2,000 bonus if you quit now. Well, why do they do that, right? Well, they don't want people there for the paycheck. They don't want people there for the money. They want people that believe in the culture and that will fit in with that because that's the kind of company that they want to have. They'd rather you just take the money and leave if that's the case. And that ties back into what we were talking about extrinsic motivation, right? It doesn't necessarily motivate us. It kind of can slow us down, kind of gets us off focus. So just another example. Let's see what else. We have Dropbox. I'm sure you guys have heard of Dropbox. This is one of their office rooms where they have meetings. Like, let's have a meeting while playing with Legos. I mean, that sounds amazing to me because it's funny because I usually, while I'm doing GTT, I have silly putty because I like to keep my hands busy while I'm talking. And sometimes I talk too fast and it kind of slows me down. And I forgot it today. So I don't have my silly putty and I'll blame that for my talking really fast. That and my coffee. But anyway, doing something fun like that in a work environment kind of lightens the mood. People are not feeling so formal. They're able to come up with fun ideas. Kind of, brainstorming is all about being on the fly, just coming up with things without judgment, right? And you need to have an environment that is conducive to that. So I do have a video. Let me check and see how we're doing on time. Maybe I shouldn't do it. Okay, we don't really have too much time left, but if you have time later to watch, in the material section, it's called Inside Dropbox Headquarters. It's just it's not too long. It's maybe about 3 minutes, but it just takes you on a tour inside their headquarters in San Francisco, and it shows you all the different fun rooms, and they have an entire room with band equipment. So if you want to just take a break and go play some music, they have a lot of people that work for them that are musically inclined. So they'll take breaks and just jam out for a couple hours, stuff like that. So these type of work environments are churning out really awesome ideas. These are awesome companies to work for, promoting play. All right. So we've talked so far this first half of our lecture about motivation, what motivates us, autonomy, mastery, purpose. These are obviously things that are valued in the last real life examples of companies that we just talked about. We also talked about gamification and how that's being used in the workplace and in lots of different areas of our society. You guys are like, what's Pac-Man? You guys are distracted by the game time. All right, so let's do a quick little game. We need a little break before we move into our next topic. So I'm going to pull up a little review because this is gamification in action, right? And I need a volunteer, preferably someone that's on their computer. Raise your hand. First person. Okay, Jennifer, I saw your hand first. Okay, Jennifer. So, what game would you like to play? Pac-Man, Manic Miner, Asteroids Pong, Word Shoot, or flashcards? Pong. Oh, Manic Miner. All right. Okay, so what I'm going to do... Oh, wow, that's loud. I'm going to give you control over my keyboard and mouse, so you're going to be able to play the game. All right, so move your little mouse around. Okay, see, you can go ahead and press space to start, and then you can use the arrow keys for left, right, and jump. So this is going to be questions about week 3. You should have control over the keyboard too. So press space to start. No control over keyboard. Okay, let me try. Give keyboard and mouse. I allow you to have the keyboard and mouse. All right, let's go back and pick one that you can do with the mouse then. Hold on a second. Let me have control for a second. I think let's do word shoot. That one you can definitely use the mouse. Okay. So click at the bottom to start, and you'll see the question. An example of gamification. All right. Wow, she got every single one right. All right, well, let's let one more person play. Thank you, Jennifer. Good job. She got all the questions right. Let's see, Mark. I'm going to go ahead and give you control. You can do the next round, although it might be the same questions. Let's see. All right, here goes Mark. Who can help him? Who can help him in the chat box? Is it working for you, Mark? Here, let me unmute you too. All right. Let's see. Having a hard time with the mouse. Okay, well, you guys get the idea. We took a quick little break. Feel free to click on that link in the material section if you want to play at the end of our lecture today. But just a little quick review of some of the things we've been talking about. Got to take a play break, of course. Okay, so we're going to switch gears a little bit. And we're going to talk about conflict. Oh, why are we talking about conflict? Well, we know that Fortune 500 companies, the number one thing that they're looking for in their employees is team players. Teamwork is extremely important when working in any type of work environment. We've just talked about these companies like Google and Zappos. A lot of collaboration is involved in these workplaces, and you need to learn how to deal with conflict when it comes up when you're working as a team. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about for the next half of this lecture. So conflict can be costly to a company, right? They're going to try to avoid it because it's associated with emotional fatigue, absenteeism, and turnover. And what do we consider the definition of conflict? Well, it's considered a transactional process between people who perceive incompatible goals, scarce resources, or interference in achieving their objectives. Keyword here is perceive, right? It's about your perception. We know that our perceptions are based on lots of different things, based on our personal experiences, our own opinions, and the way that we perceive the world around us, which is different for everyone, right? So this is when conflict can arise. So before we go into what do we do about conflict and learning more about it, we're going to do a little activity. It's called the ethical dilemma. Now, I'm going to read you this story. Feel free to follow along. I'm going to use my best reading voice like I do with my kids. So sorry for that. All right, here we go. After being cut out of the wolf's belly, Red Riding Hood's grandmother sends Red back home by a different road. Grandmother doesn't mention that the road is rumored to have many dangers, especially a troll. Red Riding Hood is on her way back from grandmother's house when she passes a friend of hers, Goldilocks, who has just narrowly escaped the troll living under the bridge up ahead. Red and Goldilocks talk about the weather and the wolves and the bears, and then they both head on their way, but Goldilocks does not warn Red about the troll she is about to face. As Red approaches the bridge with the troll under it, she finds an old beggar and offers him some bread. The beggar thanks her but also does not say a word about the troll, although he too knows it's there. Red Riding Hood then crosses the bridge, which is guarded on the far end by a knight, but he is drunk and passed out on his shift. Red Riding Hood is looking up at the clouds and not paying attention at all, and the troll, who's rather slow and loud, is able to sneak up on her, kill her, and eat her without anyone even noticing, not even Red. Your group's task is to determine who is to blame for Red's fate and in what order, with rank 1 being the character whose fault it is the most, and rank 6 being the character whose fault is the least. You have 10 minutes. All right, so that is our ethical dilemma. All 28 minus me, 27 of you are considered to be on a team together. So I would like to have 5 volunteers to be the leaders of our team. The first 5 people to raise your hand will be our leaders. Samuel, Daniel, Wesley. Need 2 more people. Okay, we got James. One more volunteer. We have Wesley, Samuel, James, Daniel. All right. No one else. Okay. Well, I'll take it. I'll take 4. I'll take 4 leaders. Okay, so I'm going to unmute you guys. Okay, so make sure you're unmuted on your end too. So let me go ahead and do that now. So it looks like, okay, James, you're good. Daniel, let's see. Okay, you guys are all good. So I'm going to set the timer.
Hey guys.
For 5 minutes. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to debate who you think should, number 1, be at fault all the way down to number 6, okay? Now, for those of you who are typing in the chat box, leaders, they're part of the team too, so make sure you consider their opinions, okay? Everyone understand. Wesley, you need to unmute yourself.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, here we go. Your time starts now.
Well, first of all, if we have the option, I'd say that the troll was at fault, but I don't think that's an option.
I was actually thinking that as well. Because the troll is the one that ate her.
Yeah, I should know better.
Yeah, he's the one that, chose to do that.
But,
yeah, like you said, I don't know if that is part of the
yeah, I don't think so.
options.
So I believe the first one we'd have to say is the knight, because it's his job to actually protect the bridge.
That is true, but also the grandmother sends her down that road instead of going back home.
Yeah, we can't forget about the grandmother. I mean, the wolf's already dead, so the path that she came on was safe at that point. So the grandmother should have sent her back the same way.
I say Red for not paying attention.
That is also true, too.
That's something I didn't think about.
That's just like nowadays right now, because she was going down looking at the sky and everything like that. So she is at fault as well.
Okay, well, we have to think about this. Who would we say is the most to blame? I personally believe it's in between Red and the knight.
See, I go a different way. I say the grandmother as well as Red. Like the grandmother more.
Well, I've got the same kind of thing going on in the.
A lot of people say
I say Red
as well.
Yeah, so we've got Red and the grandmother in the chat box. The grandmother is the one that initially sent her and didn't warn her of the dangers. So I would say it's valid to put the grandmother at fault.
Yeah.
Just
Yes.
I
like,
think I
let's
think
put it in
red
this
only because she's
context.
responsible for. At the end of the day, you're responsible for your own actions, so that's
That
why
is
I
true.
went with red.
Well, let's put this in this context. So you're going to a grocery store and the floor is wet. Nobody puts a sign out and you slip. Whose fault is it? Is it yours for not seeing the floor was wet, or the guy who mopped it
Ah,
for not putting the sign out?
I say
technically, it
it's
could
your
be the
fault.
companies. Yeah, because look, you got
I
the
gotta be.
shiny floor, then you got the dry floor. It's different.
I
You gotta be
personally
careful.
think
Ah,
the top
oh,
three would
that's a
actually
good
have to
question.
go Grandma, Red, Knight.
Yes, I
I
agree with
agree.
that.
I agree.
Okay, so we got the top three. After that, I believe that the friend should have taken some initiative and warned her. So Goldilocks has to be on there too. Who were the other two people? It was.
The beggar as wait, I think Troll is part of it because his name is highlighted.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
Oh,
because
well,
I'm
never
looking at this
mind then.
toy
He's
right
on the
now.
top of the list.
Oh yeah, I go with the Troll. Let's see what everyone says on the chat box.
Yeah,
Because
if we can use the troll as an answer, then yeah, I'd put troll. I'd still go with red as the top for me.
See, for me, I would go for Troll, Red, Grandmother, the Knight, Goldilocks, and the Beggar.
yeah, that's kind of how I see
That's a
it too.
that's a good order. That's a good order.
Because the Troll initially has the ability to not sneak up on her and kill her and eat her. He could always kick back, but Goldilocks has to be in mind of what she's doing as well.
That's true. I'm seeing a lot
Reginald
of.
in the box there said trolls doing what they do. They eat people.
Oh, that is true. I mean,
Now Jennifer's putting the Knight towards the bottom of the list.
I don't know because the Knight he should be doing his job if he was passed out drunk.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a security guard and you get caught drinking or sleeping on the job, you're gonna get fired.
That's
Yeah, he's
true.
not being a good Knight right now.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's having a good night. That's it.
Yeah, he's gonna
So,
get written up.
so let's see if we all agree on this. Number
Okay, yeah, go
one,
for it.
Troll.
Yes,
Number two,
Uh,
Red.
yes.
I don't agree with troll
Wait,
only because I'm kind of convinced by the chat box. The troll is
Yeah.
doing
yeah,
his job.
yeah. A
He's
lot
Okay.
of
doing his
people are
job.
saying
He's
no.
eating. That's what trolls
Okay.
do.
So, last 20 seconds. Let's rearrange. Number one, Red.
Okay.
Number two, Grandma. Number three, Goldie. Number four. Wait, am I missing someone? It's Red,
Wait,
Grandma,
Knight,
Goldie.
Red Knight.
The
Ah,
night.
Red. Yeah, Red,
Yeah,
Grandma,
Red
Knight,
Grandma.
Goldie,
Yes,
Beggar, Troll.
and Troll. Actually,
Yeah, troll.
I could deal with that because I'm looking at the chat box and yeah, everyone's saying no to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Troll.
Yep.
So
Okay.
taking their accountability as oh
I must say that this is the most organized I've heard this debate on GTT since I've been doing this. So shout out to you guys in the chat box for keeping things civil. Thank you. I was looking for more conflict. No,
It was interesting.
yeah,
yeah. I mean, we went back and forth a little bit, not too much.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Great
So
activity. Thanks.
let's have a little discussion about this. Oops, hold on. I'm gonna mute you guys for a second.
It's
All
all
right.
good.
Okay, so for those of you in the chat box, you didn't, I think the team leaders did a good job of reading what you guys are putting and hearing your opinions, but a lot of times you didn't agree with the leaders' decisions, right? How many times are we going to be in an environment, in a work environment, where there is a leader or a supervisor or someone saying, nope, this is how it is. And you're like, no, that's not how I see it, right? This is going to happen all the time. So what do? People in the chat box, first of all, how did you feel when maybe your opinion wasn't being heard or valued in that way you were looking for? Reginald's like, I did not see any conflict. Jason said, rejected. Jennifer said, find a better way of explaining opinion. Mark says it was a little frustrating. James said the chat box changed my opinion. Yeah, that happened, right? Wesley says you compromise. Yeah. So sometimes you have to sacrifice a little bit for the greater good if nobody can, because in this situation, obviously, I bet if you guys all had written down your initial 6, you probably all would have somewhat of a different order, right? So as you're talking through it, some of you are like, oh yeah, no, the troll, yeah, he should be closer this way, right? So you come up with different ideas. So what conflicts did you guys notice? I saw that some of you changed your views. Did you guys notice any conflict? Yep. Who is the most to blame? Yep. That was a big one, right? There was a lot of different opinions about it. And why do you think this is called an ethical dilemma, right? There's all different things that you value. Your values are going to affect how you perceive who's at fault, right? So that can create conflict. Non-volunteers, did your opinion change based on the group leader's discussion? I think that you guys said vice versa, like some of the leaders changed their mind. Mark's still about like, I mean, he's the troll. Okay, so no, Jason says no. Jennifer said, unfortunately, it seemed to be that there was more of a corporate aspect to it. Whose job, right? So everyone has, a different way of viewing it. So obviously this is a story example, but what real life institutions or situations do you think this could represent? Wesley says workplace. Jennifer says the overuse of lawsuits. Reginald said conversations with friends. Oh yeah. Has anyone ever had a political or religious conversation with your friends? Or, good point, family life, right? Are you guys, I mean, I'm sure we can all think of people in our families that we definitely have differences of opinions with and some conflicts with. Maybe even in our personal relationships, right? Okay, so point is, conflict exists everywhere. Okay, here are the misconceptions about conflict. We think conflict is a negative thing. We have to avoid it at all costs. No, misconception, right? Conflict is a part of life and it's going to happen, and it doesn't necessarily have to be assigned a label of good or bad. It just is. Conflict represents a misunderstanding or breakdown in communication. Not necessarily true. It could just mean differences of opinion, and people are sharing those and trying to come up with some type of understanding of each other. Another misconception is that all conflict can be resolved to everyone's satisfaction. No. Okay, how many of you in here, let me put your hands down, are completely satisfied with the order that we came up with in our ethical dilemma? Raise your hand. Okay. You might be okay with it, James, but maybe you're compromising because you're a nice guy, right? Okay, so what are we saying here? Not everyone's going to be happy, right? Not everyone is going to get exactly their way. So how do you deal with that, right? Are you the kind of person that's going to fight tooth and nail for hours on end until everyone gives up and your point is the way that it's going to go? Or are you the kind of person that says, I don't like conflict. I'm going to just go with what everybody else says? Or you just kind of give up and withdraw, right? So how do you deal with conflict? That's kind of what we're going to talk about next, okay? Conflict management styles. So think about how you dealt with conflict that we were having just during this ethical dilemma, or think about how you handle conflict with your family or friends when you have some maybe miscommunications or differences of opinions. James says he deals with conflict all day at work. So how do you deal with it? What do you do? Well, let's learn about what your conflict management style is. You probably read about these in the readings because I know you guys are in here are all overachievers that already did the readings, most of you. No, I appreciate that. But we're going to do the little quiz to figure out what it is. So to get your top conflict management style. So what you're going to need is your phone, a Word document on your computer, or just a piece of good old-fashioned pen and paper. You're going to number down in like a list form A through O instead of the number. So A, B, C, D, all the way to O. And then I'm going to read you statements, and you're going to answer each statement using the following key. So 1 is you always do that, 2 is very often, 3 sometimes, 4 not very often, and 5 rarely, if ever. I'm going to leave this up so you have the number values here. Okay, I'm just going to read you. Hold on, I gotta find them. Okay, here we go. I'm going to read you the statements. Raise your hand if you need more time to write A through O. All right, I see a couple hands up. Just put them down when you're ready. Okay. All right, you guys ready? Okay. Sam was like, I'm tired. Wake up! Okay. A, I argue my case with peers, colleagues, and coworkers to demonstrate the merits of the position I take. Just go with your first initial response, 1 through 5. Which one? B, I try to reach compromises through negotiation. C, I attempt to meet the expectations of others. D, I seek to investigate issues with others in order to find solutions that are mutually acceptable. E, I am firm in resolve when it comes to defending my side of the issue. F, I try to avoid being singled out, keeping conflict with others to myself. G, I uphold my solutions to problems. H, I compromise in order to reach solutions. I trade important information with others so problems can be solved together. J, I avoid discussing my differences with others. K, I try to accommodate the wishes of my peers and colleagues. L, I seek to bring everyone's concerns out into the open in order to resolve disputes in the best possible way. M, I put forward middle's positions in efforts to break deadlocks. N, I accept the recommendations of colleagues, peers, and coworkers. O, I avoid hard feelings by keeping my disagreements with others to myself. Here's the questions if you missed any. Raise your hand if you need more time. Jennifer says the last one leads to massive resentment. Oh yeah. We're going to get to that. Okay, looks like everyone's ready to go. You guys are on top of things. Okay, so here's how you score. for shark, your shark score is adding up the numbers for A, E, and G, and that's going to give you your total. And then you're going to go down and get your score for shark, owl, turtle, teddy bear, and fox. So go ahead and do that now. So you should have 5 different scores. Okay, so once you guys have your scores added up, your lowest score is your dominant style of dealing with conflict. If your lowest is a tie, then keep in mind both of them when we go over it. That happens before. You may have a tie because there's not that many questions. Okay, let me do a quick poll. I'm curious what animals we have in here. What is your primary animal or your lowest score? So go ahead and, if you see the poll on your screen, if it's a tie, just pick your favorite animal. I don't know. Just pick one, I guess. You could always put them both in the chat box so we know. Okay, 31% of you guys voted, so if you haven't clicked on your most dominant style, go ahead and do that now. Okay, 58% of you voted. I guess that's all we're going to get. Hold on. Close poll. Okay. So 40% of you in here are sharks. Interesting. The next highest is fox. And then we have a tie for owl, turtle, and teddy bear. Okay. So what does this all mean? Let's find out next. Okay. Some of you, does anyone need more time before I move on to what this means? If you do, please put your hand up. Okay, I think we're ready. Okay. What animal are you? Well, let's find out about the shark, which 40% of you are in here. Let's see. The shark is competing nature, which means sharks are assertive, and they often do not hesitate to use aggressive behavior when there's conflict. They are not necessarily concerned too much about the relationship. They're more concerned about getting their voice heard. They are very goal-oriented. We have a goal, we have a problem, we need to solve it. That's our end goal. That's all that matters. And they have a need to win. So sometimes when they're in conflict, they really just want it to go their way. So you might be thinking, ooh, I'm a shark. I don't know if this necessarily sounds that great about me. Well, none of these styles are good or bad. It's just different ways of dealing with conflict. Now, there's an appropriate time to be a shark, okay? An appropriate time to be a shark is when there's a conflict that involves personal differences that are hard to change. So You know that this family member is never going to change their views, and you're not going to change your views. So you might be a little shark-like. Or if the personal relationship is not important or critical. So if you are having a conflict with a stranger on the street and it's about an urgent situation and you don't really care about this person because you've never met them before, it might be appropriate to be a shark if it's important. When others are taking advantage of non-competing behavior, yeah, then you might need to be a shark to stick up for someone, right? Or when conflict resolution is urgent. So let's say you're in a crisis situation, you need to come up with a solution, you're on a time limit, you might need to be a shark to kind of step up and focus on the task and the goal at hand, right? So that's when it's appropriate to be a shark. So the positives about being a shark, because everything has pros and cons, is that decisions can be made without compromise. They can be made quickly in a situation where you might not have a lot of time. However, the cons are that it could breed resentment from others, because if the relationship's a priority, then being a shark might be something that you might want to lay off of a little bit, because it might come across as aggressive. Make sense? So something to keep in mind for our sharks in here. I really didn't see too much shark behavior coming out in our ethical dilemma. Maybe in the chat box I missed some, but we'll see. Okay, so let's move on to our turtle. Avoiding nature. This is actually the most common conflict management style in America. Okay, the avoiding nature. Turtles are unassertive. They tend to be passive. That means they don't really share what they're thinking. They don't like conflict. It makes them uncomfortable. And they tend to withdraw. They might not speak up and share their opinion. They might just sit back and let others talk. They don't really let their voice be heard. And like I said, the majority of Americans use this style, more passive and withdrawing. Okay, so when is it appropriate to be a turtle? James, is that a snake emoji or a dragon? I can't even tell. Oh, I'm a dragon. There, I see it. I'm a dragon. You'll have to tell me what that means later. When is it appropriate to be a turtle? What do you guys think? Never, Daniel. He's like, oh. Okay, I'll tell you. When I'm sleepy, says Regina. Wesley says, maybe when you want to spare feelings. Oh. Well, it's appropriate to be a turtle when there's little chance in getting what you want. So let's say it's between a turtle and a shark. You know that this shark is gonna, no matter what, have their opinion. It's not gonna change. It's like talking to a wall. Well, yeah, then you might as well be a turtle. Save yourself some trouble, right? When confrontation will hurt the working atmosphere. So this could be in a workplace environment. You don't want to hurt the atmosphere, so it's not necessarily the goal that's important. It's more about the atmosphere. Then maybe you just need to, sometimes we need to just keep our mouth shut. Okay? Happens. When others can more effectively resolve the issues. Hey, let's say I'm in a meeting and we're talking about game design. I know nothing about game design. You guys are in an argument about it, and I'm like, well, hey, they know what they're talking about. I'm going to stay out of this, right? Because I don't know anything about it. Or when delaying the time of conflict is necessary. Okay, so if you need to save time. Reginald says turtles are also lazy. Well, I don't know if they're necessarily lazy. They might be thinking a lot in their heads, but they just don't say a lot out loud. James is like, wait, so who's at fault for Red's death? We will never know. It's all up to your perception, right? Okay, so that's turtles. Well, when is being a turtle a negative thing? Well, because they hate conflict, they often get walked all over because they don't let anyone know there's a problem. And if there is a problem, they don't really speak up and share their point. And since turtles can often avoid conflict altogether, people sometimes don't even know there's a conflict. Oh my gosh. So I have a friend that is like this. She hates confrontation. So, like, I'll do something that bothers her. She doesn't say anything. This happens maybe a few times. And then eventually I do one little thing or say one little comment and she blows up at me because she held it in all this time and didn't say anything, so that can be a problem with turtles. Hard to solve conflicts with. Pros are they help maintain relationships. Hey, if every time there's a conflict, you just kind of sit back and you're like, all right, sure, whatever you think. Well, you're probably going to make a lot of friends. So, like I said, pros and cons to each, depending on the situation. Let's go on to our teddy bears. Accommodating nature. What do? Well, they're also unassertive. They're more accommodating. They're cooperative. Oops. They have an emphasis on people and relationships. So they care about what other people think. They don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. They want to make everybody happy. They're people pleasers. Harmony and connection are very important. So when is it appropriate to be a teddy bear? Well, when the relationship is the most important thing. Sometimes with my husband, sure, honey. Sure, honey. Whatever makes you happy. Wesley, see, he knows what I'm talking about. He says when arguing with my wife. Happy wife, happy life. That's right. Mark says, I am a teddy bear. Just don't tell my ex. So, yes, a lot of times in our personal relationships, the teddy bear side of us comes out. We don't want to rock the boat, so we kind of just cooperate, choose our battles, right? So, yes, this is appropriate to be a teddy bear when the relationship's most important or when you really don't necessarily, the change doesn't really matter. It's not a big deal. Or when harmony is more important, like let's say a family-in-law, right, relationship. Or when time is limited. You don't have a lot of time. You don't want to, argue and hurt people's feelings. So you just kind of accommodate. What are the cons? Well, like Reginald said, sometimes that can come across as passive aggressive, right? Sure, honey, whatever you say, it might come across that way, especially if the person doesn't naturally have accommodating tendencies. And often teddy bears ignore their own goals and they often get taken for granted because they're worried about making everybody else happy, right? So pros and cons to each. Jennifer says sometimes it shows codependent tendencies. Yes, I would agree with that. Okay, let's talk about the fox. Compromising nature. So basically, they are both assertive and cooperative. They want to get along with everybody, but they're also like, hey, my opinion matters, and I'm going to share it with you in a respectful way. They're willing to sacrifice personal goals while convincing others to do the same, right? It's all about compromise, meeting in the middle. You have to give up a little bit to get to that middle point, right? It's kind of like a 50-50. You don't get completely what you want, but the other person gets a little too. Convince others to do the same, right? So they say, hey, I'm willing to meet you halfway. Why don't we both do that? Can we do that? And they value relationships and personal goals. So they say, hey, the relationship's important, so I'm going to meet you in the middle. But they also value what their opinion is, so they want some of that to be considered. So when is it appropriate to be a fox? Well, if it's an issue of great value with no simple solutions, when you are just going round and round and round and you can't come up with a solution, so you're like, okay, let's meet in the middle. When conflicting people hold the same rank or power. Let's say you're in with same level employees, There's no supervisor there. You kind of have to, there's no one there to make an executive decision, no supervisor. So you kind of have to come up with some type of compromise. Or when you have all the time in the world. Okay, because it's not easy for it to feel fair to both people to meet in the middle to compromise completely. So it does take time when using this style. Sharita says, when dealing with my siblings. Hopefully I pronounced your name right. Reginald said, the value is important to me over the conflict, or the knowledge the person may have is more important than the conflict. Okay, then that's when you use the fox compromising style. Yeah, that totally makes sense. However, there are some cons to being a fox because it's a compromise for the good of the goals, but it's a less than ideal outcome for both people. So both people might be leaving saying, well, I didn't really get what I wanted. Well, I didn't really get, the other person might be saying the same thing. So I bet a lot of you were compromising for our ethical dilemma. Said, okay, well, the majority said the troll should be in this spot, so let's just go with that. Let's make it, I think it was, who was making all these was it Joshua? I forget. It was Joshua who was kind of saying, okay, let's kind of go with the majority here. Wesley says, I compromised when the chat room said, forget the troll. Okay. Yeah. Okay. What's last? The owl. So owls are assertive, which means they're sharing their thoughts in a respectful way, but they're also cooperative and they're willing to listen to other people. So it's good, give and take. They view conflict as a problem that needs to be solved. They don't see it as a problem. They don't see it as an argument. They say, hey, here's a problem. Let's solve it. Let's figure out what to do. All parties are equally valued, which means everyone gets a chance for their voices to be heard. Equally balances relationships and personal goals. So the relationship is just as important as the goal at hand. So when is it appropriate to be an owl? Well, when you have a lot of different perspectives and you're trying to merge them together. So I would say in our case of our ethical dilemma, everyone has a lot of different perspective. It would be appropriate to be an owl. When personal relationship is critical and that matters, then yeah, you want to take the time to solve the problem and not just go with the easy solution or meet in the middle. You want to solve it. And when peer conflict is present, you want to try to be an owl. Also, when there's no concern for time, because this actually, out of all the styles, requires the most time. Because you're solving the problem, you're not just meeting in the middle, you're not just going with one person's thing. Now, in our situation, when we were doing our dilemma, obviously, you weren't able to be owls because there was a time limit of 5 minutes. So definitely didn't give you guys a chance to get into the owl conflict management style. We ended up with, I think, mostly fox type behaviors. I don't know what you guys think. Jennifer said, when dealing with your kids. Yeah, Wesley agrees, fox. Okay. So when is it positives to be an owl? Well, when you want both parties to be happy and win-win. You want to take that time because the relationship's important, the goal is really important to you and to that other person, and you really want to sit down and figure it out. However, the cons are that this takes the most time. So you really do have to, take a lot of time with this style. All right, so hopefully our little ethical dilemma showed you a little glimpse into how you tend to act in conflict type situations. I'm assuming that the people that raise their hand to volunteer are probably leaning towards the styles of shark, fox, or owl because you wanted to step up and be a leader and have your voice heard. And I'm assuming some of you that just chose to sit back and watch the show might tend to be the turtle style, right? Reginald said, I believe game designers are mostly owls. Oh, what makes you say that? Wesley said, I was fox said the numbers. Okay. Yeah, all about compromise. Yep. Okay. So hopefully this gave you a little bit of glimpse into what style you are. And now remember this. This is not something that is like, oh, I'm a shark, I'm always a shark, never going to change. No, depending on the situation, you can adapt your style. So think about what we talked about, when it's appropriate to be these styles, and judging based on the situation that you're in, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's with a family member, whether it's with a friend. Think about all of that and which style would be most appropriate for that situation, and you'll notice that conflict doesn't feel so terrible, right? Okay. There's more about conflict in your reading and some different techniques that you can do, kind of like do's and don'ts for conflicts. So make sure you're reading up on that as well, because we're not really going to have time to go over that. So let's do a little game. James says, I want to do this test with my employees for Friday meeting, LOL. Yes, I think that would be great. You should, I have a printout of all the questions where you could have where you could read off the questions and have them take it. You can find it online. If you search for animal test collaboration conflict management styles, I'm sure that you'll find it. It's out there. Yeah, I can send the link. Okay, you know what I'll do? So when I post the recording and all the links, I put them on the Google Doc that you'll find in the live lecture activity. So I'll add the link for the questions there too, so you guys can have it. All right, so let's do a little example. The orange example. Okay, so person A is the shark and person B is me. We both want the orange. Okay, so if I'm neutral, I'm not any style, which person would get the orange? Yes, shark. Wesley got it first. Ding, ding, ding. Shark gets orange. Person A is a turtle. Person B is me. Who gets the orange? Let's see. Yep. B. That's right. You guys got it. Usually it's a lose-lose, but in this situation, I'm neutral. My resentment comes later, I guess, after I eat my orange. Teddy bear and me. Who gets the orange? Wesley and Reginald got it right. That's right. I get the orange because the teddy bear wants to make me happy. Even if the teddy bear wants orange, the teddy bear's like, oh, she wants orange. I'll give it to her. Teddy bear loses. Just like hubby. Okay, person A is a fox, person B is me. Who gets the orange? Reginald, ding, ding, ding. 50-50, because the fox is all about compromise. What about the owl and me? Who gets the orange? Wesley says both. James says owl. Samuel says while you're arguing, the shark gets it. No one. Yeah, this one's a little tough to conceptualize with an orange, but in this case, we're going to talk about it. The owl's going to say, hey, why do you want this orange? And I'm going to say, I would like to make jam with the peel. And the owl says, I'd like to eat the fruit. Now we're both happy. We solved the problem. Win-win. All right, you guys got the idea. Something to think about. So what did we do today? We talked all about, in the second half of the lecture, we talked all about conflict, some of the misconceptions about conflict. We did a little activity to have some conflict so we could learn more about what our conflict management styles are. Hopefully that gave you a little bit of insight. The next time you have a conflict, maybe you'll be thinking of this lecture and maybe something that you learned. So I hope all of you enjoyed our time together. Thank you so much. You guys were awesome participators in the chat box, and thank you for volunteering to play my silly games and hopefully tolerate my horrible jokes. Mark has a question. Shoot. And James says, so what's going to happen to the troll? I don't know. Joshua, I can unmute you. What's your question? You're on the air.
Maybe you want to just ask you a question.
You have a question, Joshua?
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay. All right. Unless there's a...
I forgot my mic was still plugged in. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. Okay, anyone else? Mark, I can unmute you if that helps. You want to just talk?
Okay, yeah. I did the plan for the week, and I just got the iPad, and I've completed it, but I'm having a hard time figuring out how to get it to you promptly.
Were you able to type into the actual plan itself?
Yes, I was.
So if you could do a screenshot of it and then drag that into the upload area.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I was having a really difficult time. I'm more of an IBM based PC user.
Yeah.
And just now making the switch to Mac.
Yeah.
So,
I hear you. It's a switch. Yeah. I had to get used to my Mac too. Yeah, so you should be able to take a screenshot of it and then just drag it into the upload section. So try that, and if you're still having trouble, call FSO support because they know that you guys are getting your iPads, so they're expecting all the calls for help. But there's always someone there to answer the phone, and they're really helpful. So never be afraid to call, even for a little question.
All right, thank you.
No problem. All right, any other questions? Make sure you guys get your plans turned in tonight. It's Tuesday. Don't forget those. James said, I didn't know we could use screenshot with the iPad. Yes. It's very similar to the iPhone. All right, any other questions? If you turned in your plan already, Reginald, and you feel hard about your completion, you can always do it over or add to it. You still have time before midnight. Eric, thank you, Eric. To take a screenshot, hold the power button and the home button. Yes. Thank you. I can never think of it. I just know how to do it instinctively. So that's helpful. Well, thank you guys for coming. I appreciate all the participation, and have a wonderful rest of your afternoon.